After only 2 hours at the campsite, Casey was ready to go home. Abby seemed determined to ignore her. Not that Casey minded. She didn't think they had a lot in common, but there also was just nothing to do in nature. But there also was just she really missed getting reception on her phone. Finally, Casey broke down and asked her parents if she'd go to the amusement park. Only if you go with Abby, her mom said, between bursts of laughter with Abby's mom. They sat on their camping chairs, drinking lemonade and from enamel mugs. Casey turned and rolled her eyes. Then she looked around for Abby. She saw her sitting against a tree across from the campsite. She bent over a book, twisting her lips with her fingers. Casey squared her shoulders and walked over. "Hey, Abby," she said as cheerfully as she could. Abby looked up slowly from her book, her expression unreadable. Casey continued, I was wondering if you wanted to go to that old amusement park that we passed on the way here." Abby stepped out into the woods and didn't answer. Casey could see she was reading a book called Missing Time and Other Strange Encounters. "I guess," Abby said after a minute. It was the first time Casey had heard a voice since they got there, but hope sparked through her and smiled. "Awesome, let's go." Abby twisted her lip. "I need to finish this chapter." After what felt like 2 hours, but was probably only about 5 minutes, Abby finally got up from the tree, and Casey tried hard not to roll her eyes again. Abby made everything difficult. As her dad drove them to the amusement park, Casey tried hard not to get sick from all the bumps in the road. When they got there, she saw that the site had transformed. Now people milled around, the lights shone from the rides. The park looked a lot less rickety. Casey felt herself getting excited. She turned to smile at Abby, but Abby just looked at her. When her dad pulled up to the entrance, he stopped the car and turned to them both in the back seat. "What are the rules?" he asked. Casey sighed. 2 hours. Keep my phone's tracking app on. Wait, do we get service here? She checked her phone and saw some buzz. She smiled big. "We do." "Now don't you be texting or calling or scrolling, dear," her dad said. "You want to save your battery." Casey had no intention of staying off her phone, but she nodded. "See you in 2 hours, girls," her dad said. Casey and Abby got out of the car and started walking towards the rides. Casey could hear the music from the park, but it sounded a little slowed down and the tiniest bits of tune. "The music," said Abby. "Yeah," Casey replied, looking over at her with surprise. Abby did talk, it turned out. "It sounds sort of creepy." Abby smiled and nodded. She didn't look too upset about it, which was sort of upsetting to Casey. They reached the edge of the rides, and Casey looked up at the Ferris wheel. Yet maybe 4 people total on it. The roller coaster sat behind the Ferris wheel. Its slow-moving train of cars looked like they were from 1950. Casey looked at Abby and snorted. Abby smiled back a little. "I don't think I want to go on any of these rides," Abby said, swallowing. Casey nodded. "Yeah, me neither." She turned around to survey the whole park. which was only about as big as a baseball field. She saw a row of games and with board-looking attendants and a long building labeled UFO Funhouse. Outside the building stood life-size cutouts of aliens with big heads and huge eyes. A large sign that looked like a flying saucer hovered over the entrance. "We could go there," Casey said brightly. "At least it didn't look like their lives would be in danger in the building." She started walking towards it. Abby walked a little slower. "I don't know," she said. "You really shouldn't mess around with aliens. They are dangerous." They reached the building so quickly. Casey turned to Abby and tried to keep the judgment out of her voice. "You believe in aliens?" "Yes," Abby replied, her eyes widening. "And I've read about a lot of sightings in this area. I'm guessing that's why this park has a UFO theme." Casey sighed. Here was Abby being weird again. "Well, I'm going in. There isn't anything else to do, and I doubt there are aliens in this building," Casey said, crossing her arms. "You coming or staying?" Abby shook her head. Casey huffed and walked to the attendants. $5, the board guy said, barely looking up at Casey. She slapped $5 into his hand and turned back to Abby. "Last chance," she said. Abby shrugged and shook her head. Casey shook her head too. Of all the people to be stuck on a vacation with, she thought. Then Casey turned and walked into the building.